we cannot process our own feelings when we are constantly scrolling through other people's feelings about all of the things. We can be seeing unmatched joy about a wedding or a new baby, or we can be seeing something awful, devastation, destruction, death, things that are heartbreaking. Welcome back to Happiness in Progress. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award winner, a journalist, a mom, wife, and you know what I like to say, just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. You can find more podcasts at mailtribune.com. And don't forget, if you like listening and you like learning new tools to bring more joy and happiness into your life, make sure to subscribe. All right, let's get to today's topic. It's kind of a tough one. It's kind of a hard one to talk about, but I think it's so important right now because a lot of us are looking for it right now. This has been a weird year. There's a lot of contention, anger, fear, anxiety, and we're looking to take the edge off. A lot of us are. If you're following along on Facebook and Instagram, you maybe have noticed that the last maybe month and a half have been pretty tough for me personally. It kind of started out with the coronavirus scare. We were negative, thank goodness. And it moved into adjusting to distance learning and then the sudden loss of my uncle. And almost immediately after that, a couple towns just a few miles south of me went up in flames. Thousands of homes were destroyed. That's a lot. And the loss of my uncle has been especially difficult. And that came on top of all of these things that I already thought. I already thought those things were difficult. And they are, and they will continue to be. But the loss of my uncle was really, really tough. I noticed that right after that happened, at least the week, maybe week and a half, 2 weeks after that, I was having a lot of trouble sleeping and falling asleep, and I would be up earlier than I wanted to, and I had only fallen asleep maybe an hour before that, and I realized what I was spending my time doing was looking for something to numb all of the emotions I was having. The heartbreak, the stress, the anger, the overwhelm. I realized one night as I was scrolling through social media and then going over to Amazon and just mindlessly buying things, that what I was doing was numbing. I was just trying to take the edge off all of that emotion, all of the things that I was feeling. And this isn't the first time that I felt like this. It doesn't happen often to me. I feel like I really have developed tools to keep myself from getting to that place. However, these kinds of things happen, especially when you're dealing with some kind of trauma. And I think it's important to, if you're not dealing with a trauma right now, learn these tools and kind of bring them into your life so that when something hard comes along, that you're a little more prepared. I think that has helped me. And I wanted to share some of those with you. These are some of the things that I use immediately, not the day of or the next day, but within the week or two after my uncle's death, that have helped me be a little less not okay, that have helped me when I was ready to start feeling better. And I do want to say that this episode is not about grief really, so much as it is about what to do when you have that urge to take the edge off. Something healthy and safe that you can do for yourself that will help you cope a little bit with what you're feeling instead of turning to the things that we turn to, alcohol, sex, drugs, whatever it is, obsessive shopping like I talked about, or obsessive scrolling too. That's a tough one. So this episode is more about what to do when you want to take the edge off. And even though I'm less not okay than I was before, this is still tough and grief is still a real thing. And losing someone, I think, sticks with you for a long time. I do have an episode on grief coming up next month in November, which will be really powerful. But for this episode, I'm focusing on what to do when you feel like taking the edge off. And I'm sure a lot of us are there because, again, like I mentioned, we're homeschooling and we're juggling work and home in the same building, which is our home. And things are a little more chaotic in this world that even though we've now been living in it for months, we're not used to it. This doesn't feel right. There's something wrong with this scenario. And I think it's impacting us. Sometimes you get the right message, the perfect message at the perfect time. And this happened to me. It was just a few days after my uncle had passed and a few days since I had had more than a couple hours, few hours of sleep at night. And I opened up Brene Brown's Dare to Lead book. And I happened to be in the chapter on numbing. And that is exactly what I needed to hear. She wrote this, quote, "We cannot selectively numb emotion. If we numb the dark, we numb the light. If we take the edge off pain and discomfort, we are taking the edge off joy, love, and belonging," end quote. We all numb in different ways. Some of us use alcohol, some of us use sex, some of us use eating or obsessive exercise, some of us scroll and scroll and scroll. I'm sure that's becoming more common. Some of us like to buy stuff to run away from that emotion. Brene talks about how we do this because we are actually running away. We are trying to escape the emotion. We don't want to lean into it, so we're trying to take the edge off. One of my favorite things she says in the book is we can be take the edge off-aholics. There have been times in my life where I have felt like that, where we are constantly chasing that numbing. We are constantly trying to find something that will make us feel better. She says the solution to this is to 1, set boundaries, and 2, find comfort. I wanted to run down a couple of the ways this last month and a half that I've been able to do that, to find comfort within the hardships that have been around me, that the hardships that have hit my heart and made me cry a lot of tears. The number one thing was take a social media break. It's the first thing I did. And really, truly, I believe we cannot process our own feelings when we are constantly scrolling through other people's feelings about all of the things. We can be seeing unmatched joy about a wedding or a new baby, or we can be seeing something awful, devastation, destruction, death, things that are heartbreaking. When we see the things, I think, first of all, when we see those really, really happy things, I think it's hard when we're dealing with something difficult to honestly even process. We're feeling bleh. I think that can also bring up other feelings we don't want to deal with at that moment, and really we shouldn't have to, like jealousy, etc. When we see the other posts, the death, the destruction, the accidents, and the hospital visits, I think that can make us feel several ways. 1, I think it can make us feel like shame for feeling bad about what we're going through. Like, you can ask yourself, like, why I'm feeling sorry for myself when they have it this bad? And you can start to kind of shame the feelings that you're having. In fact, for me, one of the things that I started feeling was I shouldn't feel this bad when this was just my uncle. You know, he wasn't my brother and he wasn't my son. And I don't think that's a good place to be when you're trying to process hard emotions. I don't think you need to be comparing your tragedy to other people's tragedies. Number 2, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to deal with a loved one's death on its own. But then when you get online and you read about death and destruction over and over and over and over again, not only is it impossible to start to get through what you're going through, I think it can feel really hopeless and helpless, that there's nothing good. Looking at bad news on your social media feed will not help you process your emotions, and it's not going to help you feel better. And also, it's busy. Oh my goodness, it's so busy. Even if it's not a specific emotion-driven post, it can just be a lot to read about all of the things from all of the friends. It's too much noise. It's too much noise if you're going through something tough. So the first thing I did was I took a social media break for about 5 days, and I got on a few times out of habit. I was on there for maybe 10 seconds and I got off. I didn't have time to go through the range of emotions when I was already dealing with my own emotions. And I think that this needs to be somehow incorporated into our life on a regular basis. You know, maybe it's a weekly thing where you take a social media cleanse. Maybe it's a couple times a month, something where you back off just a bit so you don't have to try to deal with where you are and where everyone else is. Because you can't solve all the problems. You can't process everyone's feelings about every topic there is. Next, get control of something. When life feels out of control, I think it's really important to focus on the little thing that you can control. Sometimes I think with numbing, it almost comes from what psychologists call reactance. It's basically when you want to do something that's forbidden. You've been told not to eat that whole chocolate cake, but you're going to eat the whole chocolate cake. You are going to numb with the chocolate cake. You've taken control of the rule book of calories or whatever it is that's important to you. And you feel maybe that you're gaining control by that initial choice. But I think it's the illusion of control. I think the healthier way to do that, the healthier way to find some kind of control in your life will be something that you can see immediate results, and that's not going to harm your body or harm the way that you feel in any way. It really helps, I think, when you can find something that you can do that has immediate results. So some of the things that I like to do, these sound so simple that if you're in overwhelm right now and you're looking for something to numb yourself, you're not gonna love these solutions, but they do make a difference. So like mowing the lawn. If you've got long grass and you see the difference, right away you can see you control something, and that is the length of the grass. Also washing a sink full of dishes, painting something, putting paint on a canvas, or filling up a journal page. If there's something in your life that you can see immediate results, then that can help you feel like you're in control of that part of your life. And third, renew your spirit. This is something that Brene Brown says in that same chapter. She says, lean into the discomfort and renew your spirit. I think everyone probably does this in a different way, but there's 3 main ways that I've used within the last month and a half. 1, talk. I am sure this is not everyone's cup of tea, but talking has helped me move through the emotions, talk about how I'm feeling, bounce things off of another person, and honestly, just having someone to listen. Just having someone to listen, whether I was talking about the grief I was feeling or was talking about my beloved special memories that I had with my uncle. Those were things that have helped me really renew my spirit. Just help me work through a lot of what I was going through. 2, get out of the house. Getting out of the house or getting out of routine has been so helpful to me. I started going on daily walks. Actually, right before life got really chaotic, I was doing daily walks just to get out of the house. And it has really, especially as kind of things started hitting the fan, if you know what I mean, I started to feel so much better on those walks, even just being present to what was around me, whether that was the birds chirping or the leaves rustling or honestly, even cars going by. It just really renewed my spirit. And, along with all of that and the exercise, the movement of my body, I'm pretty sure I got a dopamine hit too that of course helped as well. So I would number 1 suggest just getting out of the house, getting out of where you're living and just taking a quick walk. These walks were not longer than 10 minutes. And finally, meditation. I cannot say meditation enough on this podcast. I've gotten a little relaxed on my meditation practice, but after my uncle's death and after a few nights of sleeplessness, I started meditating again, and I was able to clear my mind, at least for those few minutes of trying to solve it. I think trying to solve it and trying to solve so much pain of the people around me and so many people that I love. So that has been life-changing. I'm going to link some of Gabrielle Bernstein's meditations. Those are my favorite meditations. I use them regularly, so I will link her page. Also, if you're looking for a less spiritual, she's pretty spiritual, so if you're looking for a more secular meditation, I'm going to go ahead and link Headspace. And make sure you're subscribed for Thursday, because I talked to an incredible man, a meditation teacher and coach, the man who owns one of the top meditation sites on the web, and a best-selling author, about how to deal with anxiety with meditation. It's an incredible episode and a powerful one. I hope you will be here for that one, and I want to thank you for being here on Happiness in Progress.